Today we are going to talk about how will the incoming President Trump's policies affect car rentals. There are some subtle and also some not so subtle things I want to discuss that have been talked about. Really the first thing I want to get into, and the most obvious thing that is going out the window, and we knew this was coming given Trump's very outspoken pro-fossil fuel stance, is that EV tax credits are now gone. So the old $7,500 tax credit for EVs as of January 20th, they're planning to get rid of those. And so that is probably the most obvious change off the bat. If you were planning to use that tax credit for the purchase of a Tesla, I would do so right now. We did know that was coming down the pipe. He had said that many times before that that was going to go. Before I go any further, click below, grab the 5 things you must do before starting a car rental business. That also includes the Car Share Growth Guide, which gives you a city-by-city breakdown of which car share platform is strongest in your area. Also, give this channel a like and a subscribe. I always appreciate that. Another thing I want to bring up is tariffs. Now, there's a wide spectrum of debate and argument about this, and I listened to him very closely on the Joe Rogan podcast, really to get an understanding of where he wants to go with tariffs. Now, theoretically speaking, tariffs will, if you add a 5% or 10% tariff to any kind of Japanese car, it's going to raise prices on people. But what I understand he wants to do is raise tariffs so high that it won't even make sense to export anything into this country by way of vehicles. So I don't know if you heard the story about the gigafactory that was being built in Mexico that was going to send cars to be sold in the United States. That construction shut down as of last July. Basically, everyone who is exporting cars into the United States, they know Trump has a very protectionist stance, and they plan to probably set up shop inside the United States to build cars here. So if Trump does put, say, a 25 or 30% tariff on auto manufacturers who are trying to export cars into the United States, there will be no other choice but to set up a factory inside the United States and sell cars domestically. Now, that said, it may take some time for that to take place. It may take some time for that to happen. Obviously, many manufacturers already have domestic operations. So I think with some manufacturers, it may take a little time to get those prices back down or to sell in the United States. But I think overall, we're not going to see really a big impact on auto prices. I know there has been a lot of fear about auto prices jumping 25, 30% due to tariffs. I just don't see that happening. I think most manufacturers have operations already set up in the United States and they can sell from the United States. So I really don't expect the tariff thing to really affect auto pricing drastically. Now, I'm sure some folks will have a different opinion on that. But like I said, the key point he mentioned on the Rogan podcast is that you have to set tariffs so high that it makes no sense otherwise, unless they manufacture the cars stateside rather than doing a marginal tariff where it's going to raise the price 5 or 10%. Also, another thing I want to bring up, I do think overall energy prices are going to come back down. So over the last 3 or 4 years, we've all had gas sitting around $3, $4, $5, depending on where you live. That said, I do think gas prices will come back down. They are planning to drill, baby, drill, obviously. And I think that the supply of gas will increase and bring prices back down across the board. So I think that that should happen. So that just from a maintenance and upkeep standpoint of our cars should lower the prices on that. I do think generally speaking across the board, because gas prices will drop, it will drop the prices of transportation costs of different things that revolve around maintenance of cars, tires, brakes, whatever. I think all that stuff will come down marginally speaking, hopefully, fingers crossed. But really the interesting thing I'm kind of curious to see is I think this administration's very pro-fossil fuel stance is what I'm curious to see is will this encourage fleet operators to move away from EVs overall, or will they continue to adapt and adopt electric vehicles? I don't think the electric vehicle industry is going away anytime soon. Obviously, Tesla has put a dent in the market. They have shown that it can be successful. Really, the big question is, are the economics of electric vehicles, do they work in rentals? I would say my current opinion on this is yes, they can, but only with specific models. The price in general is going to have to come down for most EVs across the board for it to start making economic sense in rentals. That's just the reality. Right now, I would tell you that I think kind of used Model 3s of Teslas or Priuses, I think are solid EVs or hybrids to run with right now. There's a lot of different cars out there that Volkswagen makes. The Kia EV6 is a really nice Uber car. It's a really nice car that rideshare drivers like to drive. drive, but it's a pretty pricey car, frankly. I think it's around $45,000 at MSRP. So what I would say is that a lot of these electric vehicle cars are going to have to come down in price before it makes sense from a rental standpoint. Obviously, the used EV market, I think, makes a lot more sense for rentals, but overall, they're just going to have to come down in price. This is really something that'll be interesting to watch. I'm not sure that this administration will really change electric vehicle adoption. Obviously, what we're seeing is that he is taking away the tax credit, so that obviously will take away some demand for electric vehicles. But Trump has stated that he wants electric vehicles to compete on a fair playing ground, just like gas vehicles. Overall, I think the cost of maintenance and keeping up fleets will come down some, and I do think that demand for rentals will rise some over time. So I see a positive bump for this industry. I would say it's probably marginal. We may see more in the next couple of years, but I think for now, I think the price of things will probably come down on some level, but I do think that it's going to be a marginal difference for the time being. But like I said, the most obvious change is the $7,500 tax credit that is being scrapped. I'm sure many of you have lots of comments and thoughts about all of this. Click below, drop a comment. And before I go, also click below and grab the 5 things you must do before starting a car rental business. I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you.